Anakin appears in the ethereal plane of the world between worlds, shocked by what he sees before him. He's confused. Mere moments ago, he had been burning to a crisp and barely clinging to his life on Mustafar. How had he suddenly emerged here? He's surrounded by countless stars and gateways to various places, and his voice seems to echo forever when he calls out, asking if there's anybody else around. When Anakin takes a step across the walkway that his feet are placed on, the blue energy ripples beneath him, causing him to feel a sense of anxiety for a moment. Then, he looks up, and he's shocked to see the Father standing before him. "You? I thought you were dead," Anakin calls. The Father smiles. "I am. Now I am a part of the living Force. I have come to you as a physical representation of the Force, as something that you would be able to comprehend and that you are familiar with. I must show you many things, Skywalker," he says. "Show me then," Anakin says. "I want to see what you have to say." The Father beckons Anakin to follow him, and he does, ready to see where the Force would take him. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if the Force had spoken to Anakin on Mustafar after his battle with Obi-Wan? Well, if so, then get ready, because this is exactly what you've been waiting for. Grab your big bowl of bantha stew and settle right in, because this is what if the Force had spoken to Anakin on Mustafar. Obi-Wan has left Anakin for dead on Mustafar, and Anakin clings to his rage as a way to stay alive. His hatred is so strong that it renews his resolve, similar to what happened to Maul after his duel on Naboo. Anakin continues to creep upwards on the black, rocky hill on Mustafar, using his mechanical hand, clinging, trying to reach to something, anything, but eventually he begins to lose his strength. While he is powerful, he is not powerful enough to sustain this climb. His eyes glaze over, and life begins to spin before him. Everything goes fuzzy. However, as he slips into darkness, he feels his consciousness drop into a strange plane of reality. He falls, and then realizes that suddenly he's in a new place. When he opens his eyes again, there are countless portals that lead to Ferric knows where, all connected by ethereal blue walkways. Anakin looks down at his hands and sees that they're fully renewed. His legs are there too, and he wears his dark Jedi robes. Everything else is a star-coated abyss, and Anakin didn't even want to know what would happen if he fell through the walkway that he was on now. He looks around, wondering what's going on. "Where am I?" Anakin cries out, not actually expecting a response. However, when he does so, somebody immediately appears in the blackness before him. Anakin's eyes go wide. It's the Father from Mortis. "Hello, Anakin," the Father greets him. Anakin is taken aback and surprised. "I thought you were dead," he asks. The Father laughs. "Not dead, simply one with the Force, appearing as something that you can understand with your brain, someone that you are familiar with." Then, the Father gestures for Anakin to follow him. "Come, Skywalker. I have an entire world to show you." Curious what his next journey would entail, Anakin follows along, feeling his feet creep along the ethereal plane, wondering what was going to happen next. As Anakin continues to travel deeper into the ethereal realm with the Father, he can't help but inquire as to where he was. "What is this place?" Anakin asks. "It is the world between worlds," the Father replies. "A pocket of space in the Force where every possibility, event, and timeline can be viewed simultaneously and can cross over outside the confines of time as the galaxy knows it." Anakin's brow furrows. "So why am I here?" he asks. The Father smiles. "This, Anakin, is your last chance to truly fulfill your destiny. There aren't many people who ever get to experience this place, and certainly not in the capacity that you are now. You are almost dead. And I, the Force, the Father, do not normally intervene directly to alter the fate of the galaxy. However, you are the chosen one, Anakin. And I have reached out, ready to give you a last chance to truly take my place and change the events in the galaxy. You have set something into motion that can still be altered, Anakin." Then, Finally, after the father's speech, they reach one of the portals. The father invites Anakin to look through the window, gesturing with his hand.
Look, Anakin, this is what you have set in motion.
Anakin sees everything that's about to happen. He watches as Padme dies, the Empire rises, and Darth Vader overtakes Anakin Skywalker for the rest of his life. Anakin's heart breaks when he sees the grief that he imposes on the galaxy and the pain that he feels as Vader. He also sees how Palpatine had twisted him and manipulated him to become this being filled with pain. Anakin cries out as he watches this door continue to play the movie of the life of what he would become as Vader. No, Anakin says, I don't want a life like this. The father nods.
And what life do you want? He says.
Anakin shrugs his shoulders. I don't know, but all I ever wanted was to save Padme, he says. Sidious, he twisted that desire in me. He made me a pawn in his galactic game. I just wanted my wife. I just wanted to get away from the Jedi. I thought that I was doing the right thing, he says. Then the father pauses.
The reason I'm giving you this chance, Anakin, is because I saw you standing on Mustafar after you massacred the Separatists with that tear rolling down your face as you watched how far you'd fallen from the child that you once were.
I don't want this anymore, Anakin says. I don't want to be Vader. I want to be Anakin again. The father nods.
I want to show you something deeper. Something that may change your mind even more.
Anakin nods. I want to see what you have to show me, he says, feeling tears begin to well up.
Good. Then our journey shall continue.
They travel further into the world between worlds, and Anakin wonders what he would see next. For a while, Anakin and the father walk in step, simply in silence, and Anakin contemplates what he had seen in the last portal. He didn't want that life. That wasn't what he had signed up for, but that was what he had taken. And now, here he was, being given a second chance. Anakin was in awe of what was going on. Why had the Force given him this opportunity? Finally, the pair stop, and Anakin looks into the next portal that the father gestures towards. He sees the galaxy ravaged by war. Anakin recognizes many of the faces and holo recordings from this time. It was the Old Republic, during the days when the Republic and the Sith Empire would clash in brilliant battles, and where the Jedi and Sith would battle to extreme lengths in endless wars for galactic peace and domination. Anakin looks further into the vision, and he sees a Sith Lord with a respirator and pale skin, along with an imposing dark suit, not unlike the one he had seen himself wearing in his last vision. Who is that? Anakin asked the father. The Jedi didn't teach us about many of the ancient Sith, only what they did, and that we were at war with them. The father then looks at Anakin and says that was Darth Malgus.
He was a hero of the Sith Empire, and one of the most prominent Sith Lords in the conquest of Coruscant and Alderaan by the Sith Empire. Malgus had indulged his passion, and it fueled him to lengths that many other warriors couldn't even dream of. He was a competent fighter who won many battles, and much like you, Skywalker, he even had a significant other who he loved very much.
Anakin then looks back at Malgus. Why are you showing me this? Anakin asks. However, he watches and immediately sees what happens. He watches as Malgus slays his own lover in an attempt to further his own power, using his rage as a motivator to become even more powerful and shedding his love for her as perceived weakness. Anakin's hand goes to his mouth in shock.
This is what love leads to in the eyes of the Sith, the father says. Death, destruction, and weakness in pursuit of selfish desires for power.
Anakin's mind immediately jumps to Padme, and he thinks about what might happen if she died because of what he had done to her earlier. Is Padme going to die like I saw earlier? Because of me? Anakin asks. The father simply shrugs.
The future is always in motion, Skywalker. Come, I have more doorways to show you.
Anakin's stomach clenches, hoping that the next one would show him better than what he had just seen of Darth Malgus, who oddly enough, he saw some of himself inside of. The next portal that the father shows to Anakin is another vision from the Old Republic. There, Anakin sees not one, but two Sith Lords. One wore a white mask and carried a red lightsaber, and also was clothed in black robes. The other looked like he was about to fall apart at any moment, and had a white eye and a ferocious stare. Who are these Sith? Anakin asks. And what do they mean to me? The father then gestures towards the one who is wearing the mask.
This is Nihilus,
the father says.
I want you to watch and see what the dark side has done to him.
Anakin looks and watches as this Sith Lord sucks the life energy from an entire planet, leaving it completely bare. Then, Nihilus looks towards Anakin with dark holes in his eyes, and Anakin can tell that his hunger is still not satisfied. He had sucked the entire essence of a world, and yet the dark side still demanded more, and he was in deep pain and suffering from that hunger that consumed him. Anakin's jaw drops.
Embracing the dark side never truly satisfies,
the father says. Then Anakin looks towards Darth Sion and sees his power and rage on the battlefield, but at the same time, he also can tell that that man is literally falling apart. It was even worse than Maul, and far worse than Anakin was on that soot-filled lava beach on Mustafar. Anakin sees that neither of them are able to satisfy that unquenchable thirst for power. And yet, in continuing to pursue that, they continue to live torturous existences as the dark side literally eats them alive. Anakin bows his head, remembering how Palpatine had been so consumed by the power of the dark side that his face has been contorted into a hollow shell of the grandfatherly appearance that he once had. He also looked at himself now, and saw that soon, if he continued down the same path, he would be just like Sion, Maul, and Sidious, consumed by rage that would sustain him for the rest of his days, rather than living a peaceful existence. Anakin doesn't want that for himself.
Come now, Skywalker. I have only 2 more doors to show you, and hopefully they will convince you that embracing the dark side fully and not maintaining balance only leads to suffering.
So Anakin follows, nodding to the father, now even more curious about what he was about to see. As the father gesticulates towards Anakin's 5th vision, he doesn't know what to expect. He looks through the portal, and he sees an incredibly long life that is supposedly running on double speed. Anakin recognizes the mask of the Sith Lord that he sees before him, and he realizes that it's the Jedi legend Revan, champion of the Mandalorian Wars, and simultaneously the herald of the Sith Empire. Anakin watches as Revan and his apprentice Malgus are corrupted by the dark side, and how they let it consume them to the point of becoming selfish, and no longer caring about defending the people of the galaxy as they had during the Mandalorian Wars, where they believed that the Jedi Council was doing nothing to help those who were in deep suffering. Anakin watched as Revan started to settle down with Bastila Shan, but then felt called to fight back against the tyranny of the Sith Emperor. He saw Revan literally torn in two, tormented by the light and dark side within him, vying for the desires between peace and power. He watched as Revan was forced to leave Bastila and his future child to pursue the dream of killing the Sith Emperor, only to become his pawn, similar to how Anakin had become the pawn of Sidious, and his eyes are filled with tears. He says to the father that he sees the folly in pursuing only the dark side. "I want to return to the light," Anakin says. "I want to find that balance within myself."
Well, Skywalker, I have one more thing to show you.
Anakin shakes his head. "No, I don't want to see any more. There's too much suffering. I've learned my lesson."
Move, Skywalker.
The Father replies, commanding him with a deep voice of the Force. Anakin feels compelled to move with him. Even his feet are in step with the Father. The Chosen One is compelled by the Force itself. They move towards another door, and Anakin's heart beats faster as he sees one more vision open up to him. There, he sees another Sith, one that he doesn't recognize, but that he had heard tales of. Is that who I think it is? Anakin asks. The Father looks back at him.
I believe you know exactly who that is.
He watches as Darth Plagueis the Wise tinkers in the shadows, working to create the perfect Force being and to manipulate the midichlorians to create life. He watches as his desires to control everything and to become the most powerful being in the galaxy pervert his mentality and make him go crazy. Anakin watches as he loses his mind and eventually succumbs to the will of Sidious, his apprentice, who kills his master after having learned all of his secrets. It was the way of the Sith to become selfish and to desire deeply to know what the Force was capable of. However, it was not like the Jedi, no. The Sith sought to control. Anakin sees that, and a tear rolls down his face as he watches the destruction and selfishness of the dark side finally become clear to him. I just wanted to save Padme, Anakin says. I just wanted to make the galaxy a better place. The Father then looks at Anakin and places his hand on his shoulder.
Well, if you really believe that, I am willing to give you a second chance.
He looks deeply into Anakin's eyes.
Are you going to use that to make your wrongs right again? Or are you going to fall down the dark path once more and succumb to the weak-minded ramblings of the Sith?
Anakin emphatically nods his head, tears in his eyes. If you'd be willing to give it to me, I want this second chance, Father. I understand if you don't want to. I've done so much. I've become twisted. I'm no longer the man I once was. I've done atrocious things. I've killed younglings. If you want, and you believe that this is the best thing for the galaxy, give me that second chance. But I understand if you want to let me die here, too. I see the error of my ways, and I understand the pain that I've caused the galaxy. The Father, who is the embodiment of the Force before Anakin, then nods, understanding his penance, and he reaches his hand out.
And a second chance you shall have, Skywalker. Go, take my place. Make things right again.
Immediately after that, Anakin's consciousness streams back into his body, and he feels himself become completely healed. His legs are there. His arm is no longer burned. Even his mechanical hand had become whole again. Anakin stumbles to his feet, rushing away from the lava, shocked by this development. He can feel the hair on his head, and he feels his physical body being whole again. In that instant, Anakin realizes that this is his second chance. That hadn't simply been some near-death experience. The Force had actually spoken to him, wanting him to succeed. He feels the power of the light side in his veins, and he intuitively understands that the journey to the world between worlds and his conversation with the Father had shown him how to make everything right, and had imbued him with his full potential in the Force. In that moment, Anakin senses his master coming and descending down to the top of the hill in his Imperial shuttle, and he knows what he has to do. Anakin takes a deep breath, ready to take on Sidious and bring true balance to the Force. As Sidious descends the hill, he's surprised to see a fully healthy Anakin rising to meet him. He'd sensed the pain and desolation of his apprentice mere moments ago. Now, here he was, fully healed and revitalized.
Ah, my boy, I'm glad to see you're doing well,
Sidious says. Anakin looks towards him. Do you truly believe that you're doing the right thing for the galaxy? Anakin asks out of the blue. Sidious is slightly taken off guard by this question.
Do you think that the galaxy will be better under the Empire? Were the Jedi really traitors against the Republic? Or was that simply you manipulating the strings and manipulating me? Sidious tilts his head. You're right, Anakin. Of course I believed in all these things. And of course I'll help you save Padme. What, did somebody knock you upside the head? Why are you being like this? He says. I am your friend, Anakin. I wish the best for you. Anakin laughs, immediately sensing through the Force the deception of Sidious. The veil of the Jedi had been lifted from him, and now he could clearly see everything. While the Jedi may be hypocrites and liars, you're no better, Sidious. What's the matter with you, Anakin? Why are you acting like this? Anakin simply chuckles, knowing that Sidious didn't actually care and just wanted to use him. Anakin fires a powerful volley of Force judgment at Sidious instinctually, not even knowing how he knew how to use that power, but also sensing that his journey to the Force had given him the knowledge. Sidious manages to counter him with a barrage of Force lightning at the last minute, and the two of them continue to battle back and forth using their mastery of the Force, trying to knock each other backwards with their respective power. While Palpatine is distracted for a moment, he reaches out with his other hand and raises Sidious into the air, and Sidious is standing with no land beneath him. Anakin and Sidious continue to fire lightning at each other as Sidious is in the sky, and he knows that he's done for. Please, Anakin, I don't know what's gotten into you, but we can discover the secrets of the Force together. Please, keep me alive. You need me, Anakin. He sees that his apprentice had become more powerful than him, and he doesn't exactly understand why, but he knows that he is done. He knows that he is more cooked than a beautiful bowl of bantha stew. Anakin doesn't listen to him at all, and instead, he simply tosses Sidious into the lake of fire on Mustafar, causing the Dark Lord to burn to death immediately. Then, when Fox and the clones attempt to shoot at Anakin, he just pushes them to the side, not wanting to engage them, but also knowing what he has to do next. He steals Sidious' ship, flying away, determined to find his wife and see her through childbirth. As Anakin steals Palpatine's ship and speeds away, he reaches out to Obi-Wan via secure holocommunication on that address he knew he could always reach his old master. He looks at Obi-Wan, who picks up and is surprised to see Anakin. I'm sorry, Obi-Wan. I need to see Padme. I'll explain everything when I arrive. Just tell me your coordinates and I will be there. Initially, Obi-Wan is hesitant, but soon the doctors tell him that Padme is suffering from a broken heart. All right, Anakin. Padme needs you. Get here as soon as you can. Obi-Wan also knows that it's in a Jedi's nature not to hate someone for their actions. So Anakin arrives at the outpost as quickly as he can, and the doctors rush him to be able to see Padme. Immediately, her spirits are elevated, and she's elated to see the love of her life. Anakin holds her hand as she gives birth to the twins, and he assures her that he will always be there to be a good father. Padme, I'm so sorry for everything. I had this strange experience, and it made me rethink my life. I screwed up, but I'm changed. I am never going to go back down that route that I did, and I will always stand by you and my children. Palpatine twisted me, and I'm not using that as an excuse, but I am always going to be on your side, Padme. Always with you and with the children, and I am going to help you raise them. Padme smiles. I can tell that you're different now, Anakin, she says. I can tell that other side of you, it's gone. After leaving the room to allow the doctors to attend to Padme and the children, Anakin has a one-on-one moment with Obi-Wan. I'm so sorry, Master. I was a fool to follow Sidious. Your teachings were far better. The Force, literally, I don't know how to explain it, but I had this incredible vision, and it literally showed me that the Sith path was one of evil and self-destruction. The Force itself gave me a second chance, Obi-Wan, and I don't want to follow that anymore. I don't want to destroy myself. I want to be there for my family, for my children, for my friends, my brothers like you. I want to go and raise those kids on Naboo, because I also see that being a Jedi is flawed. The Sith and the Jedi both have such restrictive views on the Force. I just want to live my own life and raise my children, love my family, and be permitted to do so. After Anakin gives this speech, Obi-Wan smiles. I understand your pain, Anakin. I've had much of my own to deal with over the time, and I can see that you clearly regret your actions. He looks down, and he pulls something off of the hilt of his belt. He gives Anakin back his lightsaber. I wish you the best, Anakin, and I hope that you use this saber to teach your children well. Anakin smiles back. Thank you, Obi-Wan. The two of them embrace, and Anakin departs when Padme is ready and eager to start his new life. The empire that Palpatine had built collapses incredibly quickly as Mon Mothma is named his successor by the Senate, and she dismantles many of his new establishments, restoring the Republic to what it was before the Empire had a chance to even flourish. Anakin goes to live a happy life with Padme and his children on Naboo, all with occasional visits from Rex, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan just to say hello. Life is good for the galaxy, and it prospers under the new reign of peace that Mon Mothma ushers in. And Anakin has found the balance that he had been seeking for so many years. Well, hello everyone, and thank you all for watching this episode of Bantha Stew. Today, I actually managed to get somebody else on the podcast, another absolutely spectacular visitor, and I'm very happy that he came here for our show today. So everyone, give a warm welcome, please, to one of your favorite Jedi Masters, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, hello there. Yes, I am very happy to be here. It is my pleasure to be on the show. I've been watching Bantha Stew for a long time, and honestly, I think that your stories are far better than what actually played out in the Star Wars galaxy. Well, some of them are. Some of them are kind of dark still, but I'm glad to have you here, Obi-Wan. How are you doing today? Oh, I am doing stellar. Thank you for asking, Mr. Bantha. Well, I'm very happy that you agreed to come on today, and I just wanted to ask you, what did you think of this story today? What were your thoughts as you were listening to it? Well, Mr. Bantha, I was actually quite shocked that Anakin returned to the light. I lost faith in him for a very long time, and even as a ghost, I thought that Luke was going to have to kill him. However, he prevailed, and in this story, the Force reached out to him and gave him a second chance, something that I think more people deserve. You know, the Jedi often frown highly on mistakes, but it seems like in this case, Anakin's many mistakes led him to a final redemption, and I love that about your story, Mr. Bantha. I also loved that I had the chance to give him his lightsaber back in person, and that he apologized, and he came forward with Padme and allowed her to actually live. He also seemed very powerful at the end there in his fight with Palpatine, something that I can appreciate. He didn't compromise his morals or his values to kill Palpatine, but at the same time, Anakin was indeed able to go forward and take on the Sith Lord who had orchestrated the rise of the Galactic Empire and the destruction of the Jedi. I look forward to existing in this universe, honestly, and I'm very glad that I have the chance to go and see Anakin on Naboo. What a beautiful planet that place is. Very good. I'm glad that you enjoyed today's story. Honestly, I had a great time writing it too. Now, on the note of Naboo, what would you say is your favorite planet in the galaxy to visit? Well, quite honestly, I've always really liked Mandalore. I love the culture. I love the city of Sundari. I love the people there. They've always been very welcoming, very diplomatic. I didn't necessarily love everything from their history, but I love the planet now, and I always enjoy going for a nice visit to Sundari and seeing what the Mandalorians are up to. Oh, you like Mandalore, hey Kenobi? Oh, are you sure that there isn't another reason for that? What are you insinuating, Mr. Bantha? Well, all I'm saying, okay, and this is just all rumors, but there are a lot of people who think that there might be something going on between you and that old Duchess over there. So, what do you have to say to that? I resent those insinuations. I am a Jedi. I am a man of the Order. I would never go against my word, and I would never, ever go against the Jedi Code. Well, that's what a lot of folks say. And then, sure enough, they do. I mean, your apprentice went off and ran away with Padme.
That's all that I'm saying. And hey, you never know what goes on behind closed doors. Again, I am a man of my word. I resent those accusations, Mr. Bantha, and quite frankly, I am offended that you would ever go on the air and discuss them with unfounded claims. I am just flabbergasted. Okay, I'll drop that one, Kenobi. But I just wanted to know too, on that note, what is your favorite part of being a Jedi? You say you're a man of the Creed, a man of the Order. What is your favorite part about being a Jedi? Well, quite honestly, it gives me a deeper sense of purpose. You know, I'm living for something that is greater than just myself. I'm living for the ways of the Force and to protect those who don't necessarily have the capacity to protect themselves. Honestly, being a Jedi is the greatest blessing that I could have ever asked for, even if it is a difficult life sometimes. And I am so thankful that I have this opportunity to protect the galaxy, to protect the Republic, and to protect democracy. I love being a Jedi, and I couldn't ask for an even better life with a better fellowship of people. I am very happy that I'm in this order, and I hope to protect it until the day that I die. Well, that's very noble of you, Obi-Wan. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And I appreciate your honesty coming onto the show, except for maybe about the Duchess. Hey, I told you that is not true. Okay, I'll drop it, Obi-Wan. I'm just teasing. Don't you worry. But thank you for coming onto the show, and I'd like to thank everybody else who was watching today. If you'd like, I would recommend that you join the Discord server and interact with like-minded Star Wars fans. We all have a great conversation, and it is an absolute blast. In addition, I would also recommend that you comment below what you thought of this video. Did you like it? What do you think could have gone better? Would you like to see a part 2? If so, what do you think would happen in part 2? Thank you all again for watching, and I hope that each and every one of you have an absolutely bantha-tacular rest of your day. And, as always, Obi-Wan, do you want to say it this time? Oh, of course, I'm happy that you asked. I hope that each and every one of you have your daily delicious dose of bantha stew.